other such rifle companies. And so all these pubs would have rifle ranges inside the pubs, sometimes literally inside. You'd fire over the heads of customers at targets. But they banned it. And I want to know the reason why they banned it.
Well, not just because there was an accidental death or something?
No. No, the answer is not what you might say today, which is health and safety. It was another more puritanical reason, in a way.
Either that picture's been mocked up or they are really casual, those days.
No, they still exist. There are still pubs with rifle ranges in them. In Devizes and Oswestry and places like that, they actually have pubs that still have rifle ranges. There's one there. You pull away the centre part of the bucket and there's a tunnel and you fire through it, there's a target at the end.
Somewhere in the world there's a giant dog with stitches in his neck looking for that.
A very small neck.
Yeah.
It's because people were gambling on it.
Yes, Dave Gorman, you're absolutely right. That's the weird thing about Britain, then. They didn't care about the fact that live rounds were being fired over people's heads. It was the fact that it caused gambling.
Is that why they introduced the curtain over the scoreboard?
Yes, probably. To hide it.
Is that the British version of a speakeasy?
Yeah.
Not for here. Not for here.
Beautiful curtain it is, and immaculately measured.
But one Worcester pub, until quite recently, you'd shoot from a bar across a passageway and into an outhouse. And some teams still shoot in the open bar. We've got Swindon, Devizes, Newport, Hinckley, Nuneaton, Worcestershire, still have pubs with rifle ranges in them. There you are. Isn't that quite interesting?
Very interesting.
Yeah.
Oh, that's probably more than we were hoping for. Otherwise it'd be called VI. It's only quite interesting.
They did try to ban darts at one point because of gambling as well, because it was deemed a game of chance. And I think it was in Leeds, and it went to the magistrate, and the landlord of a pub who wanted to keep his dartboard brought in the sort of local expert and made him play and demonstrate that it was actually a game of skill, because it was just seen, the idea was you were just sort of hitting the board like a fairground sort of game,
right.
and it was whatever you happened to hit was your score, and it was well done you were lucky. And then he came along and hit a few treble 20s when asked, and they sort of proved it was a game of skill.
Oh, that's very good. There are lots of pub games, of course. I'm sure you played pub games in your time. You may be familiar with some of them.
Too busy drinking.
Of course. But see if you can explain the rules of milking crummock, Hankin canst abide it, or laugh and lie down.
Laugh and lie down, that is a box full of Rohypnol.
No. No.
Well, milking crommock, I would have thought that's a card game.
Well, we know that Laugh and Lie Down and Hannikin Can't Abide It were card games.
Oh,
but
so I managed to get the only one that isn't a card game.
Yes. Well, possibly, because the time has now passed. But, oh, just in time. Nobody knows is the answer. Nobody knows. Yes.
Nobody knows.
Extra points for Dave. The fact is, we only know these games exist because they're on lists of games that have been banned. So that there is statute that says it is illegal to play Milking Crommock, Hannikin Canst Abide It, or Laugh and Lie Down. And all you can do as a games historian is look at it and try and work out. But there is some evidence that those were card games.
That's brilliant. I love the idea of a barman just going, hey, are you playing Milking Crommock? No.
But there are some we do know.
Two blokes running out of the pub with just one card going...
Obviously, there are dice and card games and dominoes, but there were games called Guile Bones, Noddy Board, Penny Prick, Hide Under Hat.
Hide under hat, that'd be a great game. I like it, it's self-explanatory.
It is, really.
You need a massive hat or a small person in the way.
Both, really.
Yeah.
But in 1938, a priest wrote to the Times complaining that there was a pub where they had on the billiard tables tortoise races with little toy jockeys on top.
It's the jockeys that makes it lovely.
I know, it's so sweet.
Should have used giant tortoises and real jockeys.
Well, they should, shouldn't they? If only they had. That was in Weymouth. Competitive smoking was very popular.
Oh,
and,
come
well, see if you can...
It's a bit smug.
Yeah.
He's the champion.
It still exists. It still exists. You obviously now have to do it in an outside place or a smoking shelter. But who would win a smoking competition?
I guess the first person to finish the pipe.
No, the last person to finish the pipe. It's keeping the pipe alight for longest.
Oh,
it's like a polo meat competition.
It's how you pack the tobacco into the pipe and then how few puffs you take at it so you don't burn it down.
And you're telling me this
for hours.
And this didn't become a televised sport?
I know, it's shocking, isn't it? I know. Terribly exciting. But it still exists, yeah, competitive smoking.
Wow.
So there are other games we can think of, and there was an ancestor of darts, you may be familiar with, a Belgian game. called oisé-piqué in the French Belgian, or struifvogelspel. And there it is. You use a duck, and the duck has the sharp beak. It's rather weird. It's tied on the end of a line. It's a bit peculiar. You swing the bird round on a cord until the beak gets stuck in the board.
That'd be a good thing for a murder in Midsummer Murder.
Wouldn't it? Actually, that would be brilliant.
That's a good plot there.
Yeah.
Is that the dartboard?
Yeah, we can see the back of it. You swing that round, and wherever the duck's beak lands is...
She doesn't want to play. He's making her play.
Yeah, there was a betting game in pubs, which was rather distressing, called lark singing, which was very popular in Britain, but also particularly on the continent. And the one whose larks stopped singing last won all the money. And there was this terrible belief that if you blinded the lark, it would sing more. And there was a campaign to stop the blinding of larks, which was led by World War I blinded veterans.
And some larks.
Which is where they knew that being blind wasn't a lark, exactly.
Yeah.
But that was, unfortunately, a popular sport. Humanity has often been very cruel.
There's a lot of, I don't know why this reminds me of it, but there was an old variety act. Used to have a dancing duck on his piano. And he'd play the piano, an upright piano, and there'd be a duck that would just dance, and he'd just play a tune, and the duck would dance. And then they worked out he had a hot plate in the top of the piano, and it was triggered by him playing the thing. So when he started playing it, it heated up, and then the duck would have to sort of...
Oh, that is awful.
Yes, yeah. And there's a magician who's still working, I think, in Spain, who does a trick where there's a goldfish tank on top of a load of face-up cards.
Yeah.
And he forces a card on you, and then his goldfish selects your card by swimming to it. And he's basically sewn a little magnet into the goldfish, and he moves his knees under the table and directs it to...
Lord.
Yeah, I know. The entertainment world is cruel with animals.
It is, isn't it? Anyway, the fact is the rules of milking Cromwell are lost forever, but it doesn't matter because we're not allowed to play it anyway. The most popular entertainment venue in the world used to be the Coney Island amusement park in New York. What was its longest-running attraction?
Is it an elephant?
No.
Is it a bearded woman, or... 'cause
No.
they had lots of that kind of thing.
Was it a bearded elephant?
There was one particular woman who came to see this every week for all the 37 years that it was
Cliff
on the
Richard.
show. No, you don't know. It was not what you might call usual entertainment. It's very...
Cliff Richard.
No. I'm trying to framing this, to which Cliff Richard isn't the answer. This is a really peculiar, unlikely... No, that's not going to be... This is not what you'd associate with entertainment. No, that's not.
Barry Manilow.
What about it's something you go and see on your summer holiday? No, that doesn't work.
I'm just going to have to tell you, it was children in incubators. The infant incubator with living infants. Premature children were put in incubators, there they were, and the public would come and see them. They'd pay a quarter, 25 cents.
Was there a grabbing hand?
You are an evil man.
It's an Angelina Jolie pick and mix.
It does seem really weird to us, but the fact is it was a recent invention. It was invented in 1880, and no hospitals had them in America. It was a French invention, and the French inventor went round trying to persuade people they were a good idea. And this park thought, at Coney Island, what a great thing to do. We'll get all the premature babies that are born in New York, we'll send them to the incubator, put them in the incubator, people can come and look at them and watch them thrive. And indeed they did thrive.
Just warm air?
Yeah, it's a ventilated, sealed-off area.
So
This must have been laid open for abuse by pushy stage school mothers who were desperate to get their kids into... Get into the incubator, Lorelei! Go on, get into the incubator. But, Mom, I'm 11, so squidge up a little. And if someone comes to look at you, do your shuffle 3-step.
If someone was 7 months and their waters broke, were they then being driven to the fun fair instead of the hospital to be near?
Yes, because the hospital didn't have any incubators.
Yeah.
It was only when, in 1940, that the New York City Hospital invested in incubators that they kind of went out of business as an attraction. It seems utterly weird to us, but it was the longest-running attraction at Coney Island. Anyway, staying with our infancy theme, here's a parenting poser. Eleanor Roosevelt considered herself a very modern mother. Where did she keep her baby?
Oh, in a drawer, probably.
It's almost as weird. It was a fad in the 1930s.
Was it permanently attached to her in one of those things, what they called? papoose things.
No, that would be fairly normal. We would consider this weird now. In New York, space is at a premium. It's obviously a limited amount of space in Manhattan, hence the skyscrapers and so on. And where do you put your baby? Well, hang it out the window in a cage. The baby cage. It caught on for a while.
Was this the question that Michael Jackson was trying to answer?
It is a bit disturbing, the baby cage. But there were 12 of them in Poplar in London. They died out during the Blitz, because obviously they were not suitable for the Blitz. Eleanor Roosevelt got severely criticised for it. She was very upset. She recalled, it was rather a shock to me, for I thought I was being a very modern mother. But you can get extra points if you can tell me Eleanor Roosevelt's maiden name. Before she married FDR, she was Eleanor what?
Rigby.
Both said it at the same time. No, she wasn't.
Roosevelt.
Yes! Well done. Oh, she was Eleanor Roosevelt. Very good. She was the niece of President Teddy Roosevelt, who was a fifth cousin of the man she married, Franklin Delano Roosevelt. So there's no incest involved. Fifth cousin is a long way away. It's just an amazing coincidence. So
Do you think she actually changed her name? No, seriously, do you think she actually went and said, right, I'm now officially changing my name? Because you're not officially then got the same name. You've got the same name, but it's not the same as registering it as a changed name. Do you know what I mean? Do you know what I'm saying?
Well, you should be a registrar.
The reason I ask, do you know what I mean? Because I'm not sure I do.
No, I was going to say...
Do you see what I mean?
I sort of know what you mean. That she missed out... She missed out on the excitement. Nobody knows what you mean. She missed out on the excitement of saying, I'm not going to try out my new name. Maybe she might have written her signature in a different way. Now, describe the miraculous secret machinery that the Chamberlain family used for delivering babies for 100 years.
Was it the... what's that thing called that you suck a baby out with?
What?
The Vontus. Did they invent the
No, that was
Vontus?
after. That was after. So it must be...
No, this was... Yes.
Forceps.
Because that's...
Yes, they invented the forceps, and they realised how brilliant they were, but they were terrified. This was in the 17th, 18th century, roundabout, for 100 years. There was no patenting laws, so anybody could have copied it. And so what they would do is they would go into a house with this huge box covered in a cloth, and so we've got our secret device here. They would go up, they would blindfold the mother.
She's stuck on 1, 2, 3, 4.
Blindfold the mother.
Coming!
No one else was allowed in the room, and then they'd play all these sound effects to make it seem as if it was an extraordinary piece of machinery. Yeah. And then they would get out. Here's an early... they're pretty disturbing, but there they are. I'm sure that's forceps. There they are. But for literally 100 years, they kept their secret by disguising this simple device.
Then they'd get them out and smirk at a barbecue, just turning things up. Nobody knows. Yeah. Nobody knows.
Now, epidurals. Do you know when the epidural was first devised?
I would say...
1960.
He died in 1949. He was a man called August Beer. And he first had this idea that if you put painkiller into the spine itself, then anything below the pain signals wouldn't get there. So he tried on an assistant. He injected his assistant's lower spine with cocaine, which is a topical anaesthetic.
She fell over and said it worked.
It was a he. It was a he.
They laughing like that?
Yeah. He then...
Could have been worse. They could have then played Milk and Craddock.
Yes. Well, he almost did. He made sure the area was numb by pulling the man's pubic hair, yanking his testicles.
And he said, Anakin can't abide it!
He hit him in the legs with a hammer and singed his thighs with a cigar. And sure enough, the assistant felt no pain. So that is how the epidural came
He never
to
walked
be.
again, but he...
Broken leg, terrible burn.
Somewhat bruised. The first woman in history to have a baby under an anaesthetic, which was chloroform. She was so thrilled by the painlessness of the experience, she named her baby...
Not chloroform.
Not chloroform, no, anaesthesia.
That's quite a nice name. It's like semolina and tapioca.
Yeah.
It does sound like the most boring dinner party guest ever. Oh, anaesthesia's coming. Oh. Not again.
There were... I mean, there are stories about this. It's hard to know quite how true it is. There were biblical objections